Sidhan Subal, something also worth mentioning here is that the Indian Prime Minister did mention the Make in India as he was talking to CEOs from various American companies during his talk with the US President Joe Biden. He did say that he's appealing to global companies to make in India. Why is this important for the Prime Minister of India?
Well, Make in India has been key policy of the Indian government. India is keen that there is more manufacturing in India. JET-E was the GE deal for jet manufacturing was an example of it. And of course, the Indian side is keen that there is more manufacturing, especially in the defense. Co-production stands a key focus area for that. But largely, we know that India, under its Make in India defense programming, is keen that defense, the arms are manufactured in India. India wants to be a major exporter instead of an importer. India is currently a major importer of defense equipment. So India is scouting for markets from Africa to Latin America. And in fact, the Indian Prime Minister travels to Egypt later today for a 2-day visit where we know that defense forms a key pillar of the relationship. The Egyptians are keen to get LCA Tejas from the Indian side, but it can take a lot of delays. But largely, the message is clear to the global community from India and to global investors that there should be a major component of manufacturing in India that has multiple outcomes, which includes job generation. So the Indian Prime Minister's visit, if you look at any visit, there is the business component, the diaspora component, the political component. These three pillars are the key focus area. And in this visit as well, we saw the Indian Prime Minister focusing on that, whether it is New York, whether it is Washington business, whether it is telling the investors why they should invest in India.
Well, the biggest chunk of this visit or tour by the Indian Prime Minister to the United States has been, bolstering defense. And he also met the National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications in the United States, John Kirby. And John Kirby did give a statement where he says India is a world player as well as the net exporter of security and stability. U.S. National Security Council Coordinator did mention that he's looking forward to deepening the relationship between India and America. Why is this important for America and India to foster or even cooperate or even merge when it comes to security?
Well, Eric, all through the visit, we have seen one key, essentially the words being used by the American side is welcoming India as an important player at the global platform. And whether it's the comments at the White House, whether it's the comments at the State Department, or the comments at the US Congress, we have seen the American side keen to see a rising India at a time when we have seen a rise of another country, that is China, but a very aggressive China that has been taking claim to large territorial areas in Asia, in the South China Sea. So, well, yes, the Chinese have played a catalytic role in terms of bringing India and US together, but the rise of India is being seen as a positive development for the wider world, and that is why we have seen the comments coming from the Americans. And just not the Americans, you look at other countries, Europeans, Africans, they see India as a country who follows rules-based order, unlike China, which has been involved in many territorial disputes and using economics, using trade as a weapon. That is something that has been known being done by the Chinese. So essentially, the rise of India overall here during the visit has been seen as a positive development by various American institutions from White House to the US Capitol.
Sidhan Subal is a diplomatic correspondent. He is live in Washington, D.C. and joining us now is our other correspondent, Molly Gambhir, who is also in Washington, D.C. Molly Gambhir, good to see you. Blinken and Harris did raise a toast to the India-US relations at the state luncheon attended by the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. this is what Blinken said after or before the toast. He said, whether we call it the American dream or Indian dream, our people believe profoundly in opportunity. No matter who we are or where we come from, we can make something more of ourselves. What are the major takeaways of the Prime Minister's visit to the United States going forward? Molly.
Well, the key takeaways, Eric, have been far-ranging. We are looking at defense cooperation getting a significant boost. We're looking at tech ties, which, as anticipated, have underpinned this entire visit, and the strong message that the two leaders have really sent out as far as collaborating in the sectors of tech transfer, in the sector of space, climate change, artificial intelligence. India and the United States standing at a transformative moment, and the relationship being called among the most consequential by the US President, and the Indian Prime Minister talking about how the partnership is limitless, and the scope and the potential that the two sides have is beyond measure. So that in itself tells you about the emphasis that the two leaders are laying on why the visit comes with a lot of symbolism, and the messaging has been that of boosting ties on multiple levels. Now, we're looking at the defense deals, which, of course, have been a significant part as anticipated. Also, ISET, which has been talked about as one of the biggest headlines in the run-up to the visit as well. So that continues to dominate the discussions here as a result of the Indian Prime Minister's discussions with the US President, and people-to-people ties, which also have been a crucial element. We were speaking to an expert here just a short while back, who also commented on the very reason why India and the United States are coming forward and collaborating at this scale is because of China and the stable the need to ensure a stable and secure Indo-Pacific is what the two leaders have commented on and stressed upon. So that is another significant takeaway in terms of the messaging to China as well. And the deliverables, as US officials have been putting it earlier as well, are not just the bullet points on a paper. They are overarching themes of coming together to fight common adversaries, and also sending out a message that India and the United States, the partnership is here to stay, and it's only going to grow by leaps and bounds. So when we look at the significant deal of GE, the joint manufacturing of the fighter jets, which puts India in that exclusive club of nations to be able to master jet engine technology. Also in this X, we're also looking at the way in which India and the US are looking at lifting all barriers as far as transfer of technology is concerned. India signing the Artemis Accord, something that Kamala Harris also spoke about earlier on. And India and the US at this point also celebrating their economic ties, which was mentioned by the two leaders yesterday as well, how their trade has doubled in the past decade. And they are looking at more ways in which they can enhance that, and which is why in just a short while from now we will have the Indian Prime Minister engaging with business delegates, CEOs, business leaders right here at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C.
Molly Gambhir, we do understand that the G20 summit will be held in India in September, and during his 3-day tour of the United States, the Indian Prime Minister has managed to meet big conglomerates, or even, if you like, CEOs of big companies like Google, Apple, and also Twitter. Do you think his efforts to woo investors or American investors to India is working?
Well, yes, so that's been a very crucial aspect of this visit. Just look at the way in which India and the US have been trying to position themselves on the global map, coming together to forge closer business-to-business ties, and which is why we're seeing the Indian Prime Minister engaging with these business delegates and CEOs, not just here in Washington, D.C., but also in New York. And the reason why India also looks at this as an opportunity is that it's a growing market, and that is something that the US appreciates India for and looks at it as a reliable partner for that reason as well. Why else would we have these CEOs congregating and showing their enthusiasm in the way that they have. The potential that India and the US have to actually deepen their cooperation on that front has been also lauded, has been commented on by the business leaders. And with the two countries standing at a juncture where they can only take this partnership forward, that's the reason why we have these CEOs and business delegates actually coming through and engaging with the Indian Prime Minister at the scale that we've just seen a short while back.
Our correspondents Molly Gambhir and Siddhant Sibol, both in Washington, D.C. Thank you very much, guys, for talking to us.